If everything is already known by God, if destiny has been written, if nothing in this world truly belongs to you, then what is the point of prayer? If your life is not yours, if your soul is not yours, if even your will is not yours, then what power does your prayer hold? This is not only an intellectual question, it is a question that grips the heart. It is asked not only with the tongue, but with the soul trembling in the silence of the night. And the answer is not given through dry logic, but through lived experience, through unveiling, through intimacy with the divine. According to Ibn Arabi, prayer is not telling God something he does not already know. Prayer is not a negotiation, not a bargain, not a divine shopping list. Prayer is remembrance. It is self-emptying. It is knowing before whom you stand, and in that presence forgetting who you are. For the one who prays does not bring his ego into the conversation. If the ego remains, then prayer becomes nothing more than the religious mask of desire. True prayer begins when you no longer insist, but surrender. But then we must ask, why do we pray at all? Is it really to change something? Or is it that prayer is the state of awakening to what already is? Ibn Arabi says, when the servant prays, he only utters what Allah has willed. Prayer is not your will. It is His word placed upon your tongue. You are only the bearer of it. That is why prayer is not a request, but a trust. The modern mind treats prayer like a tool. If I ask for this, I will get it. If I achieve that, then I will be happy. But this mentality turns prayer into a transaction, an exchange between merchant and buyer. Sufism teaches otherwise. Prayer is not giving God your desires. Prayer is returning yourself to Allah. When you raise your hands, you are not changing what is written. You are changing yourself. And when you change, the script that was always written unfolds inside you. Prayer does not alter destiny, but it allows what is written in destiny to bloom in the heart. Ibn Arabi says, Allah desires for His servant to know Him through prayer. The prayer is not yours as much as you think. You are brought to prayer because He has prepared you for that moment. And the words you utter have already been inscribed from eternity. What then happens in such a prayer? The servant no longer demands. The servant no longer offers suggestions. The servant merely witnesses. Prayer is not asking, it is bearing witness. And the one who witnesses does not interrogate. He only says, "Yes, my Lord, it is so." Listen to the tone of Ibn Arabi's supplications. They are not, "Give me this, grant me that." They resound differently. Make me among those who know you. Do not leave me to myself. Annihilate me in you. Bring me into being in you. These are not statements of will, but confessions of surrender. This is the essence of Sufi prayer. At this point, a secret reveals itself. Sufism does not cancel prayer, but transforms it. You no longer direct the prayer directs you. Your needs do not give birth to prayer. Prayer defines your need. Oftentimes you don't even know what you truly need. Yet prayer shapes you until suddenly you find yourself no longer asking, no longer clinging. You only plead. You only release. Ibn Arabi teaches that this is the most authentic moment of prayer. You vanish, and the prayer becomes the breath God blows into you. Then prayer is no longer poetry. It becomes the language of silence. Sometimes it is only a single word. Sometimes it is nothing but a hush within the heart. Not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of surrender. But then another question arises. Will the human being not desire? Will he not wish? Of course he will, but not from himself. He will desire only through Allah. Your prayer is not your wish. It becomes prayer only when it is His will echoing within you. Not every wish is a prayer. Not every cry is a surrender. True prayer happens only when the servant is stripped of himself. This stripping does not mean leaving life, but leaving the prison of selfhood. Then every word becomes the sound of inner stillness. Every Ya Rab becomes a flag of surrender, and you cease to be the one speaking. You become the one carrying words. But someone will object. If prayer does not change destiny, then what is its purpose? Ibn Arabi answers, the goal of prayer is not to ask for something. It is to realize what the prayer reveals about you. If prayer is written in destiny, then you will pray. And when you pray, it is the unfolding of what was already written. Destiny, in Sufi understanding, is not a rigid stone. It is the meeting of infinite possibilities in one single truth known to God. Your prayer is one of those possibilities opening inside you. It does not alter God's knowledge, but it draws you nearer to the truth God has already prepared. Thus, prayer becomes a path. It widens your chest, softens your way, illuminates your mind, silences your ego. And one day you discover that prayer is no longer a need, no longer a habit, no longer a duty, but a passion. Prayer becomes love. Ibn Arabi's own words testify to this. He prayed again and again. Leave me to you. Erase me in you. Take me away from myself. For him, prayer was not a demand, but an exhaustion of the self, until nothing remained but God. Still, the modern mind insists, I prayed, but it did not happen. Then why should I pray? Ibn Arabi's answer is clear. What you call not happening was never your prayer. It was your assumption. If you equate prayer with results, you miss its essence. Prayer is not lived in results, but in intention. Sometimes God does not give what you ask, but in that withholding, He purifies you. He makes you wait. And in waiting, He expands your heart. He seems to reject you, but in truth, He returns you to yourself. And in that moment you realize, I was not created to receive this thing. I was created to learn to ask. In Ibn Arabi's view, prayer gains meaning both in what is given and in what is withheld. The withholding is itself a teaching. God says, when you have learned to ask, you have already received. So prayer is not an outcome, it is a state. Prayer, in its depth, is not a list of wishes. It is a mirror. Each prayer reveals your intention. Ibn Arabi says, prayer is where the servant stands naked before his Lord. There are no defenses there, no masks, not words, but intentions speak. And those intentions either draw you to truth or abandon you to yourself. When you approach truth, words dissolve into silence. You stop asking. You accept that Allah already knows what to give. And this acceptance is not the end of prayer. It is the essence of it. Prayer is not only an act. It is a state of being. The one who prays lays down his existence, his ego, his will, and remains only as a servant. That remaining is not emptiness. It is readiness to be filled. When the servant prays, he confronts the limits of his being. He realizes how little he knows, how little he controls, how powerless he is. And precisely there, encounter with God begins, for the limit of the human is the beginning of divine mercy. If someone prays and sees no results, Sufism says, you have already received. Because prayer is not about gaining, it is about becoming. To pray is to enter a state, not to secure an outcome. Sometimes the prayer is not for an answer. The prayer is the answer. The act of raising your hands is already a response, already a sign that something in you has awakened. Perhaps you are the echo of a prayer whispered years ago by someone else, and now that echo passes through your lips again. Prayer unravels existence thread by thread. Each prayer is an act of acceptance, and the heart that accepts makes space. Then you stop plotting, persuading, calculating. You simply say, "I am silent." You speak. And when he speaks, the words are not yours. The desires are not yours. Not even you are yours. Prayer becomes the most silent journey of the servant toward the Lord. On that journey, there are no steps but intentions, no speeches but fidelity. And at its end, there is no prize but recognition. And when you recognize him, asking ends. Because you know that whatever he gives for you. What matters is not what you asked, but what he knew. How then do we live this state? How do we pray in this way? The answer, by being constantly aware. For the Sufi, prayer is not limited to prescribed times. Prayer can be in a glance, in a silence, in renouncing, in smiling. Prayer is a state of the heart, and if the heart is turned toward God, every act becomes prayer. Ibn Arabi said, "The acceptance of prayer is when God sees his own attributes in you. If you pray with patience, he sees his name Al-Sabur reflected in you. If you plead with humility, he sees his name Al-Latif in you. You are no longer only asking, you are carrying his names. And this carrying is greater than asking." Does prayer ever end? Never. For prayer is not only supplication, but orientation. As long as you turn to him, you are praying. And when he flows through you, you become prayer itself. Then you are not only the one praying, you become an answer to another's prayer. And that is the perfection of prayer. So ask yourself, when do you pray? Only when you are in need? Or do you feel the touch of prayer in every moment? Because prayer is not just a ritual, it is a form of contact, a conversation of the heart with its owner. It is not God hearing from outside, it is God speaking from within. And when the inner heart is cleansed, quieted, surrendered, every breath becomes prayer. And perhaps that is the deepest secret. Prayer does not change destiny. Prayer changes you. And when you change, destiny reveals itself.